Welcome back, everybody, to Brother Wolf, Sister Moon Divination. Hey, fam, how's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. I wanted to bring you a different form of divination, the I Ching. So I've chosen 3 coins. Now, the traditional way is with yarrow sticks, but if you don't have yarrow sticks, you could use coins. And it doesn't have to be fancy coins. It could be pennies, whatever. So I have some cool coins here. So with all these animals in the back, I'm making that tails and this heads. If you were using, pennies or quarters, you would use heads as heads and tails as tails. And each side has its own corresponding value. So this has an animal in the back, so I'm going to make that tails. And this very official looking writing as heads. Same thing with this one. So this official writing I'm making be heads, and the animal back is tails. So I'm going to toss these coins. First, concentrate. Have some incense on. Get into that mind state of relaxation, meditation, mindfulness. And let's go for it. So, heads, we give it a value of 3. And then tails, we give it a value of 2. Okay. Okay, so you're gonna want to have some notes because we're drawing up 6 lines from our casting. Okay? And our goal here is to get a message. And so each one of these coins, I've already identified which is which. So here goes. Let's take a look at what happened. We have, okay, that's tails. So I'm going to give that 2 points. This one came out heads. So I'm going to give that 3 points. This one came out tails, and I'm going to give that 2 points. Gives us a grand total of 7. And so 7 corresponds to unbroken yang. And we start at the bottom. So our first line is yang. The first line of our hexagram. Okay, let's keep going. We're going to do this 5 more times. Okay, I've got heads. That's 3. I've got heads. That's 3. And I've got tails. That's 2. That gives us a total of 8, which gives us a unbroken yin. I'm sorry. This first line is unbroken yang. This second toss brought us an 8, which is unbroken yin. Okay, that's why you gotta have notes. So I'm trying to get a message for the collective. This is heads, 3. This is tails, 2. And this is heads, and that's going to get 3, so we have another 8, okay. Unbroken yin, See, we're building our hexagram. I have an incense going, I have a candle on, I'm getting into that zone. So try this. You can do this with 3 pennies. And I Ching, or Book of Changes, is such a fascinating book. And we all go through these different hexagrams. There are 64 in all, and they each have a message. And they sometimes can have changing lines. That it could be yin changing into yang, or yang changing into yin. I've got heads. I've got tails. And I've got tails. Another 7. That's unbroken yang. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 more tosses. Now, there's many ways you could toss these coins. You could put it in a little cup, or just in your hands like I'm doing. Whatever feels right. Now, this is just exploring different cultures, different divination methods. I've got tails. Heads. And I've got heads. Again, 8. Wow, okay. Interesting. Unbroken yin. So we have one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one for now. I've got tails, tails, and tails. All right. So that's 2, 4, 6. 6 is changing yin. All right. So this is our hexagram. Let me see if I can. So this is our hexagram. Let's see what it means. Okay. Okay, folks. So after calculation, our hexagram is the number 51, but it has a changing line. So we have to read that next as what this certain current energy will become. And that will become number 21 hexagram. So I'm going to read both of them to you. Okay, so the first one is number 51. And it is called a shock or a pleasant surprise. So I'm going to be using 2 sources. Okay. Okay, in this book it is called The Arousing. This is the doubling of the first son. The 2 young men wish to force change on the world. They are violent, and they arouse fear in the neighborhood. They will make changes. If changes are good, they will be accepted by the people around them, but only after the shock of the ideas have been absorbed. The ancient judgment, the arousing comes. Oh no, or I'm sorry. Oh, laughing words. Ha ha. The shock terrifies for 100 miles. The sacrificial spoon does not fall, and the shock brings success. Okay, so that's one interpretation of that. So let's now look at this one. And I'm using the ancient I Ching website. I will put a post in the description. Hexagram 51, a shock or a pleasant surprise. Hexagram 51 also reveals the possibility of discovering infidelity in your life. This is not a certain event, it is just a prediction of what could happen. Check out other messages from this symbol below. Okay, so we're given a breakdown. So in general, this speaks of a positive sudden change. It could also speak to positive surprises. And then in a very small percentage, it can speak of relationship trauma. Sudden positive change. Hexagram 51. From spontaneous relationship to bad accidents, life shocks. Life shocks you at every twist and turn, whether it's a good or bad kind of shock depends on context and severity of the situation. However, both have their role in paving the way for you to discover your purpose in life. Hexagram 51 from the I Ching is about the lasting impact of shocks and how they can affect you on a practical and spiritual level. Surprises can also shock you in a way, but a surprise is a good thing. A visit from a dear friend or an unexpected job acceptance is a shock most would want. Shocking accidents and tragedies are gruesome in the moment, but they also teach you a lot. Many become more appreciative of life, while others have their minds toughened by the shocking experience. Next, a sudden change in fortune can also come as a shock if you have financially struggled your entire life. The shift to prosperity can fill you with joy. Now, of course, I will read you the other side of this possibility. Warnings. People with a sensitive nature usually won't have the best reactions to bad news. A shock can, in fact, be very dangerous for them. So in Afro-Caribbean tradition, so I'm melding Asian with Afro-Caribbean, African and Asian traditions. So we'll talk about susto in a minute and how we can safeguard ourselves from it. Susto. It means fear in Spanish. So there's certain herbs and baths and protections we can use to limit the impact of susto or to not let it happen. Okay?
I wanted to add an insert about susto. So in the Afro-Caribbean traditions, you can protect yourself from susto because the idea is that if we're suddenly surprised or shocked, it can really hurt us. And so one of the messages that came out in the reading was to protect ourselves from susto. So there's a number of ways you can do that. Through spiritual baths, you can create a bath and pour it on yourself. So you can take a basin of water, put some rose oil. You could put some herbs like basil and basil and mint. If you can get some holy water, that will be good. Anything that you think as a protective energy. And also cascarilla. So let me show you what that is. So this is it. You could buy these online or at spiritual shops or botanicas in South Florida. That's what these little spiritual stores are called. And they sell a variety of things. And this is one of the items. You can get it online too. And it's basically just crushed eggshells with holy water. And you can pray on it. And you're going to crumble some of that into your bath. You could also add a little Florida water or like a bathing, like after bath type splash kind of perfume, and you pour that on yourself, and you can pour it head to toe. Some baths you can't pour head to toe, but this one will be fine. And you could also add a little cocoa butter, okay, and that is going to be a good cleansing and protection against susto. And you could also pray Psalm 121. So this would be a good meditation. So do consider this as a protection against susto. You could also cleanse and bless your house. You could sprinkle this cascarilla around your front door. where people path travel a lot. You could put some on your front door. It's basically like chalk. Okay, so there's many uses for this. Okay, that was my little insert. Prayers and baths against susto. And there are, of course, many different ones. That's just a basic one that I'm giving you. You could look this up. So one of the things that came out was susto. So we don't want to be overwhelmed or surprised. We're going to be strong and ready, and we're not going to be, taken by susto, right? And so this is an important spiritual protection.
Okay. Many individuals have a hard time adapting to shocking changes in life. This not only disturbs routine, but also their emotional health, which degrades as a result of losing something or someone they have always depended on. In a relationship, a shock usually doesn't translate to anything positive. Catching infidelity or dishonesty will not only shock you, but deeply break your heart as well. So, what is our closing message? So, we always have to be prepared for change and not be afraid. Okay, I'm going to go deeper into this reading. I'll confirm with Spirit that this was the message that was for us to hear. And I will then read, I will read it next, the next hexagram. So where is this going? Okay, this is what we're faced with. Some kind of change is happening, possibly. And it could be good or it could be bad. And we have to prepare. And, good stress is also stressful as bad stress. Obviously, I'm guessing all of us want to pick the good stress, right? But let's see what happens. Let's go on to hexagram 21. So we got that message. So we're going to move on to the next hexagram. 21. It is called Seeking Survival, Not Fulfillment. Let's take a look. I'm going to look at my book. I'll show you the link to the book as well. 21. Biting Through. The second daughter, I'm reading from this book, and also the website, a website, which is the ancient iching.com. Biting through. The second daughter is over the first son. There is a lot of action and motion between these two, arguments and strife. These conflicts must constantly be arbitrated by those in authority. Brotherly and sisterly love can be incestuous. The rules must always be obeyed, and no shortcuts can be taken. The ancient judgment, biting through to the core of the problem, leads to success. It is best to let justice be administered and follow the rules. So the card that comes up to my mind is the Hierophant in this reading. This might pertain to a Taurus or somebody who's Taurian in your life. And the goal here is to play by the rules. We're going to use tradition. We're going to use common sense thinking. And let's go deeper. I'm going to open now this link inside the ancient I Ching. Hexagram 21 shows you that you must be tough and strong to survive the times that are coming. This I Ching symbol reinforces the importance of persistence and never giving up. What a beautiful message. Okay, let's go deeper. Let's look at the breakdown. This is why I love this website. It gives us a breakdown of probability. Again, entertainment purposes only. And this is, if nothing else, it gives us something to ponder, right? And to think and be reflective. And that's why I love divination in general, because I believe that if nothing else, it can give us reflection and thought and considerations and provide some insights. Having said that, of course, I know it to be more than that. and have many experiences, as I'm sure you do too, that we, of course, science first, but science doesn't know everything and can't explain everything. Paranormal psychology tries to. Um, and any good scientist would still always leave a margin of error and recognize that I don't have all the data at this point, so I can't say for certain. I can only look at empirical evidence and what variables are around and how do they interact with each other. But still, they have to leave that margin of error. There might be some variable they're not considering. And so in that gap, that margin is, I think, very poignant to consider other options. Persistence. This ranks. Okay, so the first energy that comes through for hexagram 21 is courage. Think of the Sun card. Think of the Strength card. Okay, which is, and persistence. All right, so we've got to be tough and not let our candle be blown out by anything. And I'm reminded of the indomitable strength of Molly Brown, I think it's called, where she's faced with these terrible challenges and she's no matter what going to get through it. One of the scenes in the movie that I'm thinking of is that it turns out she's on the Titanic. So, and in this particular, it's of course an artistic license. It's not that, for all we know. I mean, I don't know if it's based on a true story, but one of the things that I remember from this movie is they're piling onto the lifeboats and everyone's panicking and worried and freezing and frightened. And Molly, just, that's it. We're all gonna make it out of this, and I don't want anybody crying or whimpering. We're gonna get through this. Damn it. And she shakes sense into the passengers and she instills them with hope. The indomitable Molly Brown, I think that's the name of it. So we should all, consider powerful archetypal images of people being strong and not despairing and moving forward. And remember that stalwart strength of that kind of a character that, yes, this is a difficult situation, but we're going to get through it. And I have faith and hope that on the other side of this, everything's going to be peachy and it's going to, work out. Wow. So we can't be naive thank you, Spirit. And we can't be naive. And, this might be a good message for somebody. You've been relying or you've been taking it for granted, the situation, whether it's how you live, where your income comes from, your arrangements, those things could change. And then what would you do? So this is making us sober up and look, what would happen if X, Y, and Z? So one of the things that I'm going to say, dear friends, fam, is that we have to plan for the inevitable or the possibility. So even just, considering getting prepared for a storm, have things in your house, being proactive. I think that's the big message here. So that if something happens, you're good. Always have your cell phone charged. If you're going on a trip or traveling, even to and from work, always have a little emergency kit in your car. Always bring food and water with you. You never know. And I remember recently there was a traffic jam. I was on my way to work, and it was a really bad traffic jam. And, I always like to plan ahead. And so and it was going to be a long day. So I had prepared thinking it would be a long day and far from home. So, of course, I packed up a little cooler, had water, sandwiches. I had my phone fully charged. And we stayed in that line for a good 2 hours. And people were just bailing. They couldn't take it anymore. And we're trying to exit on the shoulder and try to get out to the first exit. Eventually I exited as well, but it was nice to know I had that buffer that, even though it was a difficult situation, I had resources and supplies with me. So that's kind of the message I'm getting. How does that apply? It could literally apply to you in that sense. Always pack something with you, and always bring a change of clothes in your car. Always have an extra pair of shoes in your trunk. Have a dry set of clothes or towels. You never know. You might get caught in a rainstorm. And isn't it great to know that you have a nice warm pair of clothes waiting for you that you could change out of? You never know. So little things like that. If that resonates with anybody, think proactively. What could I bring into the situation to make it better? What can I do to safeguard? And so that if something happens, which it may or may not, I'm in a position where I can handle what's going on. I'm from Florida, and I now live in Fort Lauderdale, and we always have to be prepared for storms and have propane gas tanks to cook stuff if we had to boil water, food supplies, non-perishable items, like things like that. And you hope that you never need it, but it makes a difference. And there have been times, living many years in South Florida where it was necessary. We had to break out our emergency kit, our propane gas, and live like that for a couple of days. And then, things start getting back up on their feet after a big storm. So think of those things. I know it's not the most pleasant message, but it doesn't matter. It's the message that Spirit wanted us to hear. So I don't want anyone to be thinking doomsday or any kind of, but just simple common sense. Always be prepared. Always have, a backup of something, a little emergency kit, a little first aid kit, food. Make sure if you need prescriptions, have them filled. You never know. If nothing else, let's say, well, I'll go to the store later. And then later in the evening, you just don't feel like going out. And then it's nice to know, oh, good, I have a backup so I don't need to have to head out tonight. And maybe that's meant to be that you don't go to that store late at night or something. Little things like that. And that comes from being intuitive and trusting your gut and, working on and developing your practice and your connections to Spirit. Okay? So this was a cool reading, and I hope you enjoyed the use of the I Ching and the Book of Changes, as it's called. Spirit, are you happy with this? And we're finished? Yes. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed our little I Ching exercise, and I hope that you benefited from the message. Blessings, and be well, and as always, God is love.